Ian Flynn needs no introduction to any Sonic fan watching this video that hasn't been living under a rock for the past 19 years. He's easily one of the most prolific writers for the franchise, having worked on the Archie comics, the IDW comics, the Sonic Boom TV series, the various animated shorts, Sonic Frontiers, and Shadow Generations. But long before any of that, he established a name for himself in the community with his fan comics, published on SonicVerseTeam.net between 1999 and 2006. One of these was 3B, which he co-wrote with K Majors after a late-night rambling the two had, and was illustrated by Jonathan H. Gray, who, like Ian, would go on to do official work for the Sonic comics. The story is set sometime after the events of Sonic Adventure, and follows the greatest character of all time, Big the Cat, meeting Bean the Dynamite and Bark the Polar Bear, who are searching for the fabled Golden Chaos Emerald. Feeling that Big needs some excitement in his life upon learning that the only thing he does 24/7 is fishing, Bean invites him to join them on their journey, which Big happily accepts, as it'll mean he can get his lucky charm back. However, they are completely unaware they're being watched by Dr. Eggman, and that elsewhere, Rouge the Bat and Knack the Weasel are also seemingly in search of the Golden Emerald. This was a fun read. I really like the odd couple pairing of Big with these two, and would have loved to have seen more of their dynamic had the comic continued beyond this single issue. For just 10 pages of material, it showed a lot of promise. The coolest thing about 3B for me, though, is seeing the origins of how Bean and Bark would be portrayed in the Archie comics and IDW's classic-era stories. Bean is as cartoonishly over-the-top as we now know him to be, while Bark is completely silent, not uttering a single word in the "oh shit, never mind." Yeah, this threw me a little off guard, even if it is just 2 lines of dialogue in an old fan project. A neat bit of trivia for you all, that I could be completely wrong about since it's not been directly confirmed anywhere, so please don't take my word for it, okay thanks, is that the alleged 8th Chaos Emerald, the main MacGuffin of the 2024 Fang the Hunter miniseries, is described as possibly being gold-coloured, which could be a callback to 3B and its Gold Chaos Emerald. Considering both of them were written by Ian, I'd be very surprised if it was just a coincidence. Another fan comic he created, Ultimate Sonic, takes very clear inspiration from Marvel's Ultimate imprint by completely reimagining the Sonic universe and its characters. We're told that a decade prior to the events of the story, Dr. Eggman began his conquest of the Earth, driving the majority of its population to the Land of the Sky floating above the planet's surface. This led to the formation of Gun, who protect the free lands not occupied by Eggman and fights back against his Badnik armies. They aren't the only ones either, as Sonic and his sidekick, Millie Tails Prower, are often hired to defend and rescue people in exchange for cash, effectively making them mercenaries. After one such rescue mission, they're approached by Sonic's former employer, Commander Green, who wants to recruit them both to assist Gun's attacks on Eggman's territories. Sonic initially declines, still feeling betrayed after he was made the scapegoat for a mission's failure years earlier, which led to the end of his career as a gun agent. He's quickly convinced by his old teammates Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel though, and he and Tails are brought to a secret base where they meet other recruits, including Bean, Bark, Rouge, and Sally Acorn, before flashing back to Sonic's final mission, and then the issue ends on a cliffhanger that will likely go unresolved forever. Unfortunately, there were only 2 issues of Ultimate Sonic, and that's a real shame in my opinion. I always like seeing fans give their own unique interpretations of this franchise, and this is no exception. There's a lot of really cool ideas that no doubt would have been expanded on in further issues, like Sonic's history with Gun and how he befriended Tails in this universe. Not much else to say about this one. Ultimate Sonic won't be everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's neat, and I have my fingers crossed that Ian will someday share details about what he had planned for it out of nowhere. Finally, we have probably his most well-known pre-Archie work, Other M, a series that's... no, not that one. Fuck that one. Anyway, this Other M is set in both the Archie continuity and an alternate timeline, with Sonic getting flung into the latter by an interdimensional portal during a run-of-the-mill fight with Eggman. He quickly meets said timeline's counterparts of Bunny Rabbit, Anton de Coulette, Rota Walrus, Fiona Fox, and Bean the Dynamite, and joins their rebellion against the Legion of Justice, which is led by none other than Knuckles, who takes Eggman's place as the main villain of this universe. Over time, Sonic is able to gain the trust of the rebellion, who are surprised by how different he is from the version of him that they knew before, developing a romantic relationship with Fiona in the process. They eventually battle the Legion's forces after Knuckles invites them to do so, promising to restore the Kingdom of Acorn and allow the rebellion to exist in peace if they win. This is a trick, of course, and things very quickly go to shit for both sides, as nearly every major character is killed, and the world is seemingly about to be destroyed. And then Sonic wakes up back in the main Archie timeline. The Freedom Fighters inform him that he's been in a coma for the past 3 weeks, and must have dreamt everything about the alternate timeline, but Sonic is certain that it was real, and desperately tries to figure out a way to get back. Luckily for him, Sonic the Zone Cop shows up, confirming that the timeline does indeed exist, and tells Sonic they need to work together to prevent its destruction. Sonic agrees, on the condition that Sonic gives him 5 minutes to save his friends and allies in the rebellion from dying, which he accepts. This results in the creation of another alternate timeline where the rebellion succeeded, as they and Sonic attempt to rebuild their home, as well as liberate the other nations of the planet. That is very much a brief, oversimplified rundown of Other M's story. So much stuff happens during these 30 issues that it honestly deserves its own dedicated video breaking everything down, since this one won't do it justice. I haven't even mentioned how violent and dark Other M gets, most notably in issue 25, when Kodos the Lion has an incredibly graphic death that I can't show here for obvious reasons. Like 3B and Ultimate Sonic, this series ended on a cliffhanger, but with good reason. Ian Flynn was hired by Archie to work on the official Sonic comic around the time of the final issue's release, so naturally, his priorities kind of shifted. However, Other M wasn't forgotten. The Fractured Mirror story arc in the Sonic Universe spin-off comic takes a lot of inspiration from it, with Knuckles being the main antagonist, and the introduction of the Dark Freedom Fighters, a team that is completely identical to the lead cast of Other M in terms of their designs, personalities, and relationships with one another, something I'm sure that in the know readers at the time found awesome. And that just about sums up everything with Ian Flynn's fan comics. It was really interesting to go back and see his beginnings writing for Sonic and how he evolved, along with the inception of Bean and Bark's characterizations that are now canon to the series. If you want to read any of these works for yourselves, they're still up on the SVT Comics website, which I'll be sure to link below. Right then, chaps. I'm off to browse ancient forums and look at the kind of shit people online were saying about Sonic in the 90s. I'll see you in the next video, you big fucking nerds.